Hello everybody, I'm Vincent, and today I would like to talk about a very specific thing that's been on my mind for a little while now. After I saw a poll that said that Kamala Harris was in the lead for the Democratic nomination. And I would like to tell you guys why I think that is really dumb. I don't think she's a good candidate for Democrats. And in fact, I think that this man, John Fetterman, is actually the best nominee the Democrats could choose. And I would like to explain to you guys why I think he's a lot better. John Fetterman has the appeal that Kamala Harris does not have in a couple of very important states, specifically Pennsylvania. You see, I told you guys last time that Kamala Harris is a California liberal. So while she will win California, John Fetterman will do that anyway. So she's not providing much use to the campaign as a whole. Now, granted, she's African American, she's a woman, and those are positive for Democrats in a lot of cases. For example, you could argue that because she's African American, she might do better in Atlanta, and they might be able to pull out a win in Atlanta. But you can see in 2024 that she did not do well in Atlanta. I mean, she won Atlanta, but she didn't do well in Georgia. So the argument that somehow she's going to do well this time around doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me, frankly. John Fetterman, however, I think will legitimately do quite well. I mean, just take a look at, for example, the map here, right? He's a senator from Pennsylvania, very popular. He has an approval rating of upwards of 60%. Now think about that for a moment, all right? 60% approval rating in a swing state that Trump won. That means that 5+% Republicans support this guy. He will almost be guaranteed to win Pennsylvania if he runs for president. And in a scenario where John Fetterman runs for president and all of the normal stuff happens, you end up with this kind of map, where Republicans win all of the states. They're going to win anyway, with the exception, of course, of Democrats pulling out a win in Pennsylvania. And frankly, if John Fetterman runs, here's the thing about John Fetterman, right? Kamala Harris has an establishment feel, and she just feels like a shoe-in Democrat that will just say whatever the party establishment wants her to say. John Fetterman does not do that. He is, for the most part, a free thinker. He says and thinks whatever he believes in his heart. He doesn't say anything that he doesn't believe. I mean, the Democratic Party, in large part, right after the October 7th attacks, sided with Palestine for a while. John Fetterman never went to Palestine. He never went on the side of Palestine, and he stood firm in his support of Israel. And that's one thing that distincts him from other Democrats in a way that Kamala Harris definitely did not do. Kamala Harris went with the swaths of Democrats that decided on one thing, and then John Fetterman has distinctly made policy positions that he in his own heart believes, and then stuck with those, and has not changed to other stuff, which a lot of people would find commendable, I think. And I would say that there's a high chance that he would win Pennsylvania. I think him winning Pennsylvania is almost guaranteed. And a high chance of him winning Michigan as well, because Michigan has a very high amount of union workers. And he was very, very, very pro-union when he ran for Senate. So I think there's a good shot of him winning both of those states. He would win all the other typical states also. I don't think he would win Arizona or Nevada. Arizona and Nevada are just too conservative at this point. Like I discussed in my last video, they're just too conservative. Particularly Arizona is just too far to the right. I think he'd have a shot at Georgia. I think North Carolina would be sealed. I think Georgia he'd have a shot at, but I'm going to give it to, I guess, Vance, or whoever would be the nominee against him. Let me say this. Vance is the most likely person to run, but he's not necessarily the best person. I'll explain in a later video who I think the best person to run is. But, in my opinion, John Fetterman is the best Democrat to run. Because, I mean, just look at this map so far, right? If a Democrat can manage to pick up, if John Fetterman runs, Republicans are not getting Ohio as a solid state. They probably won't get Iowa as a solid state either. I mean, John Fetterman is right next to Ohio. That's not happening. Also, you've got the situation where Republicans are trying to gain ground in Minnesota. That will not be happening. Minnesota will return to a likely blue state. Virginia will probably stay lean blue, if I had to guess. Illinois, solid. Wisconsin, I feel like Democrats probably pick up a tilt victory in Wisconsin, and then Republicans get Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina, and then you can fill in the rest of it pretty easily. It doesn't take very long to do that. Democrats would probably keep a similar amount of support as they had in the last election with New Jersey, because New Jersey's not quite as much industrial jobs. But yeah, you'd end up with something like this, where Republicans get that, Democrats get Maine, and the 1st District of Nebraska. Republicans get Alaska, Democrats get Hawaii. Oh yeah, and New York, obviously. And this is the map you end up with. And I think this is a very possible map with John Fetterman on the ticket. Now, this is my opinion. I think that Kamala Harris did so well this time because she had the backing of literally everyone in the Democratic Party. I don't believe that if she wins again, she will have all of that support. If she wins the nomination again, she will have all of that support. Because I think the Democratic Party as a whole knows she's not a very popular candidate. So I think that they will instead try to, divert funding to paint J.D. Vance, or whoever the nominee is, as a person who will have a bad presidency. And instead of being a positive on Harris, it'll be a negative on the nominee of the Republicans, which is a lot of how it was in 2024. But I think if the candidate is John Fetterman, you'll have a lot less of that, because Fetterman has much more of an appeal of just a regular guy. I mean, he's somewhat holds a little bit of a low respect for his office, you could say, with wearing the hoodie and gym shorts to Senate meetings and whatever, what have you. But I think that, generally speaking, people have more of a respect, especially the important white working class voters in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin that decided the election for the most part, the union voters. I think he'll have a lot more sway with those voters than Kamala Harris would, because you could see Trump won Pennsylvania by 2+ points. He won Michigan by almost 2 points, and he won Wisconsin by a hair. So the fact that Harris did not do well in those states, frankly, I would put it partly up to misogynistic, like the misogynistic populace. There is definitely still some sexism in our country. I wouldn't say it's all that. I would say that a large part of it is just that, I would say most of it, honestly, is just that Kamala Harris is a very unrelatable candidate. She grew up in San Francisco, went to college, both of her parents were professors, and worked her way up in the California law system, which just isn't very relatable to most voters in the Midwest. So I think if they nominated someone like Fetterman, who could be relatable to the average voter in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, even Georgia, frankly. I think there's a shot Democrats win Georgia in 2028 if they nominate Fetterman. I think that they would do really, really well. Here's the thing, though. For some reason, Democrats are really sleeping on Fetterman. I don't know why. The main people they're talking about are Newsom, they're talking about Shapiro, and they're talking about Harris especially. And then some other people that they're talking about being perhaps nominated could be AOC, Pete Buttigieg, those sorts of folks. Whitmer also. But Fetterman just isn't on the list. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because the appeal of Newsom and Harris is that they are, I guess, decent orators. Harris isn't a great orator, but she's better than some people on the Democratic Party. But Shapiro has the issue of, Shapiro and Fetterman both have the appeal of being from Pennsylvania. But Shapiro has the issue of being very unexciting. Shapiro is just a normal-looking person. Now, obviously, Fetterman has that as a positive. The reason why that's a negative for Shapiro is because if you look at your political candidates, Fetterman is exciting. Fetterman gives this feel of he's going to fight for you. Shapiro doesn't really have that. At least that's how I think about it. I'm not personally affiliated with either party, but I do think that Shapiro would be a little less exciting than Fetterman for the average Midwesterner. Also, Fetterman has a lot more union appeal than Shapiro, that's for sure. And I think Michigan and Wisconsin would definitely go for Democrats. And frankly, I'll tell you what, I don't think Republicans would win Alaska by a solid margin. I think it'd be somewhere around a likely, maybe even a lean margin, because Alaska, in case y'all aren't aware, is a heavily, heavily union state. Something like a third of all workers in Alaska belong to a union. So I could completely see Republicans losing lots of support in Alaska if John Fetterman is nominated. However, I will tell y'all, I do think that there is a person that can beat John Fetterman on the Republican side, who I will be talking about soon. And I think that Fetterman, while he is the best person they could nominate, Democrats are just kind of in a personality struggle right now. Because the main thing that they had in 2008 and 2012 was this cult of personality in a way that Republicans had, similarly with Trump, around Obama. And the thing that they tried to do was transfer the popularity of Barack Obama to Hillary Clinton. That didn't work. They tried to transfer it to Joe Biden. That worked a bit better, because Joe Biden was actually the vice president under Barack Obama. It was also partially because Donald Trump was an extremely unpopular president at the time, although Joe Biden has been an unpopular president, which allowed Trump to get back in. My point is, when saying this, is that Democrats need to work on producing new rising stars in their party. People like AOC, people like John Fetterman. Because while I don't think AOC is super relatable, she is much more exciting than someone like Kamala Harris, for example. Because to a progressive voter, you want to vote for someone who shares your progressive values, and I think AOC would do a lot better job at that. I think AOC is probably the second best person to run. I'm not totally sure. It's either AOC or Shapiro would be the second best person, but Fetterman is definitely the best person they could nominate. So I would like to make a formal plea to the DNC. If you want to win, now you don't have to win, obviously. If your plan is to let Republicans get another term and then run on Republicans who are doing poorly, then you could do that if that's your plan. But if you would like to have a Democratic president in the White House in 2028, I would highly recommend nominating John Fetterman for the presidency. And frankly, I would personally think that AOC would be a great vice presidential nominee for him if they chose to do that. Anyway, I appreciate your watching. If you guys are interested in these sorts of videos, like I said in the last one, please consider subscribing. And comment down below what you think about my predictions, what you think about my opinions on the political scene, I should say. And I will see y'all soon. I'm planning on posting videos as much as I can, probably somewhere between one every other day, something like that. But I can't guarantee it. But anyway, I'll see y'all later. Bye.